The first time I saw the SWAT team surrounding my front yard at 6 o'clock in the morning, I thought I was dreaming. Black tactical gear, assault rifles, the whole 9 yards, all aimed at the ceramic garden gnome my son had painted for Father's Day. The lead officer squinted at his warrant, then at the gnome's chipped red hat. "Sir, we received a tip about illegal activities linked to this statue." I sipped my coffee. Behind me, my wife Lena adjusted her sheriff's badge and muttered something about small-town nonsense. That's when I knew our neighborhood busybody had finally crossed the line she couldn't uncross. Let me back up. I'm not the confrontational type. Data analyst, amateur birdwatcher, the guy who color codes his recycling. My idea of living dangerously is leaving dishes in the sink overnight. But Lena, my wife, is a county sheriff, the kind who comes home some days and says, "People are idiots," while staring at her whiskey like it's a suspect in a lineup. Our cul-de-sac in Willow Creek was our peaceful escape. Picket fences, kids on bikes, the kind of place where the biggest scandal is someone forgetting to mow their lawn. Then Marjorie Platt became our unofficial neighborhood watchdog. Marjorie was the human equivalent of a car alarm, loud, relentless, and nobody asked for it. She'd patrol with a notepad, logging infractions like untrimmed hedges or suspiciously parked cars. She once reported the Millers for excessive mailbox flare because their flag had polka dots. Her favorite pastime was inventing problems, then rallying the neighborhood to fix them. My trouble started with a gnome 12 inches tall, hand-painted by my son Ethan, plopped in our flower bed where you need a telescope to spot it from the road. I checked our whole rows, yes. I'm that guy, and gnomes were fine as long as they weren't obtrusive. Ethan's gnome was about as obtrusive as a dandelion. 3 days after we placed it, a letter arrived from Marjorie, hand-delivered in a sealed envelope like we were in a Jane Austen novel. Violation of Aesthetic Standards 3.2, unauthorized. Decorative element disrupting community harmony. I thought it was a prank. I sent Marjorie a polite email with photos of the gnome, the whole rulebook page, and a note saying Ethan, age 8, made it. Her reply, a $25 daily fine until the eyesore was removed. I could have tossed the gnome in the garage, money wasn't tight, but Marjorie's self-righteous tone at the next block party, where she called my gnome a slippery slope to tacky chaos, lit a spark in me. Not anger, just curiosity. How far would this woman go over a ceramic dwarf? Pretty damn far. By week 2, Marjorie was making daily rounds, always when Lena was on duty. She'd stand on the sidewalk, snapping photos of the gnome with her phone, once measuring its height with a tape measure for an aesthetic proportionality audit. I asked if she was kidding. She asked if I respected community standards. By week 3, she'd rallied 3 neighbors to her cause, claiming the gnome was lowering curb appeal. Never mind that the Wilson's house sold for $15,000 over asking. Facts were optional in Marjorie's universe. She started slipping flyers under doors, citing studies about how lawn ornaments lead to urban decay, with my gnome's photo circled in red marker dot. Then things got weird. Marjorie decided a gnome in a yard meant something sinister. She told the book club she'd seen strange shadows around our flower bed at night. The shadows? Our motion sensor porch light. Lena caught on first. "She's trying to build a case," she said one night, flipping through Marjorie's latest flyer. "For what? Illegal gnome trafficking." I laughed, but our Ring camera caught Marjorie at 1 a.m., aiming a laser pointer at the gnome, probably checking for hidden devices. Lena saved the footage, smirking. The neighborhood meeting was a circus. Marjorie unveiled a Google Slides presentation, yes, a full slideshow about my gnome. Slide 1, a blurry photo of it at dusk. Slide 4, a diagram of sightline disruption caused by its hat. Slide 10, a wild claim I was using the gnome to signal illicit activities. "It's a kid's art project," I said. "Exactly what a smuggler would say." Marjorie snapped. The neighbors voted 5-4 to raise my fine to $50 a day. That night, Lena made calls, her sheriff's badge glinting like she was plotting a sting. Marjorie didn't stop. She called the city, claiming the gnome violated zoning laws. The inspector glanced at it, laughed, and left. She reported a fire. Hazard is ceramic. She called animal control, saying she heard disturbing noise of squirrels. Each failure made her bolder. She started a Gnome Watch group chat, sharing grainy photos of the gnome like it was a wanted fugitive. She hired a consultant, some guy in a van who parked across the street, eating Doritos and observing. He left when Lena flashed her badge and asked for his license. Marjorie's big mistake. She called the police. First, she reported suspicious activity near the Gnome at night. Then, she claimed I was moving contraband under the flower bed. Her third call alleged I was running a covert operation from my yard. The responding officers were patient, but I could see their eyes glazing over. Officer Daniels, a regular at Lena's station, said, "Maybe talk to your neighbor about chilling out." Lena had been logging everything, every call, every flyer, every time Marjorie used the neighborhood fund for her investigations. Turns out, she billed $800 for community beautification that was really her new patio furniture. Then, Marjorie went nuclear. She sent an anonymous tip to the state police, claiming the Gnome, combined with Lena's sheriff job, suggested we were running a contraband hub. The tip landed with Lena's colleague, who called her laughing. Lena dug into Marjorie's history, a dismissed fraud case from her old job, a lawsuit from a previous neighbor for harassment, and a habit of borrowing community funds for personal projects, like the $1,000 for landscaping that was her new koi pond. Lena compiled it all into a tidy report: misuse of funds, false reporting, harassment, and abuse of authority. The raid on Marjorie's house was low-key just to deputies with a warrant. They took her laptop, receipts, and a box of Gnome watch flyers. At the emergency neighborhood meeting, Marjorie screamed about a conspiracy. Pointing at me, Lena stood, badge out. "I stepped back from your case. It's with fraud investigators over $90,000 in misallocated funds." The audit was brutal. Fake invoices, a consultant firm that was her nephew's Venmo, even a community fountain that was her backyard spa. The vote to ban her from leadership was unanimous. At her hearing, Marjorie got 2 years in prison, 3 years probation, and a restitution order. The judge called her pattern of obsessive harassment a factor. As she was led away, still ranting about my Gnome, her lawyer muttered, "Please, just drop the Gnome thing."